Hello, it's Claudia. Thanks so much for stopping by. Today we're making a really big block, another big block. It's 18.5 inches and it's called Blueberry Pie. And I just want to show it to you really quick. It is part of my 2021 Stars of the Prairie mystery quilt. So if you are quilting along, this is block number 10. It's October. And again, Blueberry Pie, here it is. Absolutely love it. This is my tester block. I did all my testers in purple. It's a really fun, big, bold block with lots of half square triangles, kind of like all the other ones. I know some people might be rolling their eyes, but I love half square triangles. What can I say? If you're just here to make the block, go ahead. You can skip through this little part. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the mystery quilt. And if you are here for the mystery quilt, after the tutorial for the block, I tell you how many blocks we need to make of this month. But if you are interested in the quilt along, or the mystery quilt, excuse me, we are finishing it up, but it's a free mystery quilt that is up on my website. You can join in at any time. All of the blocks and all of the instructions are still on my website, and they will be until I feel like taking them off. So I still have the one up from last year, so if you're interested, head on over. It's www.createwithclaudia.com. Love it if you'd hit that subscribe button. I always love new subscribers. Thank you so very much. And I am on social media at Create with Claudia, where I post things every day. So thanks so much for stopping by and enjoy the video. Alrighty, so here's a view top down of this gorgeous block Blueberry Pie, and we're going to make that today. And yes, there are a lot of half square triangles. If you haven't figured it out by now, I love half square triangles. In fact, next year I think my whole quilt along is going to be half square triangles. I know some of you are probably rolling your eyes, but I really do like them. They're just such a building block on all kinds of blocks and quilts. But this has a lot of fabric, a lot of half square triangles, and so let's get started. I'm just going to move this guy over, sort of fold him in half for a little bit of reference. Alrighty, so the fabric we're going to need, first I'll give you the total amounts of fabric and then I'll give you the cutting amounts. For the background fabric, and I need to refer back to my pattern here, which is this pale green, which is going to equate to this dark purple, you need a fat quarter. For fabric A, which equates to this sort of medium stripe here, for fabric A, you need a fat eighth. For fabric B, which is just these pale purple triangles here, you need a fat eighth. For fabric C, which is these squares right here, just these dark squares, another fat eighth. For fabric D, these triangles right here in the corners, there's sort of that plum, I used that last month too, you need a fat eighth. And finally, for fabric E, which is, let me flip this over, it equates to this, let me show you, equates to that center square, you need a 6.5 inch square. All right, so that is it. So you do need more fabric, although again, it's all, if you have some sort of your stash, if you have a bigger stash, you can just raid it, or you can buy new fabrics, whatever you want to do. So now I'm going to give you the cutting instructions. And again, they're up on the screen, and you can always go to my website to download them because this block does have a lot of different cutting and a lot of sewing. So here we go. From the background fabric, I'm using the light green, and again, that equates to this darker purple here. You need the following. Let me start with this one. You need 4 squares cut 3.5 inches. Okay, 4 squares cut 3.5 inches. From, again, keeping with the background fabric, you need 8 squares cut 4.25 inches. Okay, 8 squares cut 4.25 inches. From fabric A, you need 8 squares cut 4.25 inches. From fabric B, you need 8 squares cut 4.25 inches. From fabric C, you need 4 squares cut 3.5 inches. From fabric D, you need 4 squares cut 4.25 inches. And last but not least, and let me move this out of the way, You need 1 square of fabric E, cut 6.5 inches. So there is the fabric that you need, and now we're going to start some work. And basically, all you need to do is make lots of half square triangles, and you're going to need to pair them up as follows. I'm going to put this one aside. We don't need that one right now. Okay, so the next thing the next thing you want to do is pair up your squares to make those half square triangles. So you're going to need to take 4 of your background fabric squares and pair them up 4 of fabric A squares, and that should be right. So there's your one set of 4 pairs. Then you're going to pair up the remaining 4 background fabric squares with fabric D. I had to check my notes for a second. This one does get a little confusing. You need to stay organized on this one. And last but not least, you're going to match up this remaining squares of fabric A with then that should be 4 squares that measure 4 1/4 inches with the 4 squares that you cut out of fabric B that also measure 4 1/4 inches. So there's your last set of pairs. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start making half square triangles of all of these. Now I'm not going to show you how to do all of them, but I'll show you how to do one of them. And if you know how to do half square triangles, if you've been doing this quilt along, I'm sure you know by now because I do them in pretty much every single month. I'm going to move these out of the way. But we're just going to take one of these and I'm going to show you how to make it. So you're going to take one of each fabric and you're going to pair them up. I'm just going to move those out of the way and we'll get started. Okay, so here are my 2 squares, and this pair is going to make 2 half square triangles. So on the back of the lighter one, and these are both pretty light, so I'll just do it on the yellow one. The first thing you want to do is draw a diagonal line. And this is just long enough, barely. I need a bigger ruler back here. And you're going to take your marking tool. I don't normally use pencil, but for this I will. And I'm going to make this nice and dark. I also don't usually make it quite that dark. You're going to draw a diagonal line from corner to corner. And then what you're going to do is with right sides facing, you're going to match up. This is a very pale purple, so on the camera it probably looks like it's the back side, but it's not. It's the front. You're going to line them up so they're even sides. These are the 4 1/4 inch squares. And then you're going to sew down, lost my pencil, each side a 1/4 inch seam allowance on each side of that drawn line. You're not going to sew on the line, you're going to sew to each side of it. So I'm going to do that really quickly and then I'll show you what we do next. Okay, so normally you guys are probably happy this month. Normally I use a paler thread and you can't see it real well, but there's that line that I drew and there are the 2 seams on each side. I was working on a different project so the thread was still in there. But it's nice and dark and actually it makes it easier for you to see. Let me hold it up a little bit closer, a little bit of shine, it's bright in here. And the next thing you're going to do is take your rotary cutter and a ruler and you're going to cut down the drawn line and split this in half. Always close that rotary cutter. All right, so now you have your 2 halves. We're going to flip those open. I'm going to press those. I'll press those open. I'll be right back. Alrighty, so here they are. Here they are pressed open and they're ready to trim down. You do need to trim these down. I like making half square triangles with a lot of wiggle room in them. Not everybody likes to do that. But we're going to be trimming these down to 3 1/2 inches. So to trim them down, you're going to take one of them and you're going to take this ruler, and I love these rulers with this diagonal line. That I can line up. What I do is I line it up on the seam and you're going to find your 3 1/2. Now the first thing I do actually before I find that 3 1/2 inch mark is I trim off this one corner and make it nice and even because that'll be my starting point. Hold it down nice and firm. Okay, so that corner is trimmed off. So that's going to be my 3 1/2 inch point that I measure from. And take that ruler again, and the nice thing with these square rulers is you have lines at the 3 1/2, 3 1/4, whatever, and you're going to mark that. So you're going to line that corner up with the corner here that we just cut. Make sure this line is on this line that's on the ruler is straight with that seam, and that the 3 1/2 inch measurement is here and here. It all lines up, and it does. And then we're going to trim. There you go. So there's your half square triangle, and you just throw away those little pieces of fabric. And that's it. That's all you do. There's your 3.5 inch triangle. You're going to do that with all of the rest. So all of these pairs that we paired up a little bit ago, I'm going to make half square triangles out of those now. So I will be back in a little bit. This is going to take me a little while. And when we're done, I'll show you how to lay out this gorgeous block. Alrighty, so here are all my half square triangles finally cut and trimmed down. We are ready to lay this block out. I do suggest you get your pattern. I have mine to the left. You probably can't see it. Here it is with some notes on it, but that's going to help me lay it out. So you're going to get those other squares, those 3.5 inch squares you cut earlier. We're going to need those too. And you're just going to start laying these out. So here's my middle square. Make sure it's moved up okay. All right, and then you need the half square triangles that were of fabric B and fabric C. Excuse me, fabric A and fabric B. See, this is why you need this, need your handy chart. And you're going to lay those out. There we go. Okay. I'm going to move these out of the way. Okay, so here's the first one, and then you're going to need those squares of fabric C. Those are going to go in the corners. And then you're going to just continue. I'm going to move this down a little bit. I can tell from, I have a monitor, I can see what you guys see, and I see that you can't really see it real well. Might be a little big, but it'll be okay. Okay. All right, so it's a little bit big for the camera shot right now, but once you sew it together, you'll see it all just fine. I'm loving the way this is coming together. So now what we're going to do is we're going to sew it together, and it is a lot of pieces, a lot of little squares, half square triangles. You're going to sew together. The way I would probably do this is sew this in bunches of 4, like so. That way you can, once those are sewn together, it'll be more like a 9 patch, and you'll see what I mean in a second. So the first thing I'm going to do is sew together this section of 4, this section of 4, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. Phew, it's a lot. And then I'll show you what it looks like, and then I'll show you how to finish up the block. So before I finish the block, I did want to tell you one thing. Here are my individual rows sewn together. The one thing that helped me also is pressing. And for this one, once you sew these units together, these 4, sort of these blocks, these 3 blocks together, I press this row and this row to the outside, these seams right here and here. And this one, where I sew here, the center solid block to the piece blocks, I press those to the inside. That way when I'm sewing the rows together, it's just a little bit easier. It nests a little bit easier, and you can get some sharper points. This one does have a lot of points in it because of that half square, all of those half square triangles. So when I come back, this block will be done. Alrighty, here's my whopper of an 18.5 inch block. It's the blueberry pie block. Love, love, love it. I'm loving this pale color combination. If you are not quilting along with us, if you're not in the mystery quilt, I hope you'd still give this block a try. It's a beautiful block, would make a great scrap quilt, and they're so big, 18.5 inches. You don't need a lot of them to make a lap size or a twin size quilt, which is sort of nice. Sometimes it's nice to have bigger blocks. You don't need as many, and you can finish up a quilt in a quicker time. If you are here for the quilt along, stick around. I have the instructions for October. Alrighty, if you're here, if you stuck around, then my guess is you're quilting along with us on the Mystery Quilt, the 2021 Stars of the Prairie Mystery Quilt. If you hung around and you're not, it's a free event. You can join in at any time. I have YouTube tutorials like this one. I also have you can download the free pattern over on my website. Very easy to do. This is a double size quilt this year, and we only after this one have one more block to do. And it's another big one. Yes, I know. I like these big blocks. But it's been a lot of fun. We also have a Facebook group where people load up pictures of all of their different versions of the blocks. It's pretty amazing how different colors and fabric combinations work. It really blows my mind every month, and they're just all so beautiful in their own right. Alrighty, so what did you think about this block? Blueberry Pie, 18.5 inches. Here it is finished. Gorgeous. I like this one too. Every single month I tell you that one or the other is my favorite. I don't know if this is my super favorite. I really liked September's block. If you're quilting along with us, you know what that looks like. But this is a fun, easy, it looks really tricky, but it's really not a tricky block to do. Let me show you one more time. This was my tester block in purple, so you get an idea of both of them. Not sure which one I like better. If you want to find out more about the quilt along, head over to my website, www.createwithclaudia.com. And I do appreciate you stopping by today. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.